Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name is Sarah and my channel is called Your True Shelf. Today I'm going to do a Friday reads. It's currently Thursday, but it'll probably be Friday by the time this is uploaded and edited and everything, so I'm calling it Friday reads. So I'm going to start with the books that I have hauled. Then I'm going to talk about the books that I'm currently reading, and then if there's time I'm going to wrap up the last few since I last wrapped up. So we'll see how the time goes dependent on whether we do that or not. So let's start with the books that I have hauled, the majority of which are library books. So the first one is one that I ordered in, and this is a beautiful edition of Anne of Green Gables. I'll just show you that edition. It's really lovely, by Ellen Montgomery. So it's really pretty on the back as well. So the reason I got this was because I watched a video where Morgan Long recorded a reading vlog of Anne of Green Gables, and I read this for the first time New Year, for the year when it was about to turn to 2021, I believe, and my edition is one I got in a charity shop, and it's not a very nice edition, and because I really love the book I just wanted to treat myself to a lovely edition, and it wasn't very expensive because it's a children's book, which is cheaper, and also I get a blue light discount. So so anyone who's not in the UK, blue light discount is a discount that a lot of shops give for healthcare professionals or emergency services workers, so that's really good. So yeah, so I've got that lovely edition. I also ordered an edition of Heidi for the same reasons, and that hasn't arrived yet, but I think it's arriving today. Then the rest of them are all library book hauls. So the first one that I requested and has now arrived is a Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. So I've seen this discussed on BookTube a few times, and I don't think I've seen anyone wrap it up, but I've seen it hauled, and so I wanted to order it from the library. So this is a book about a black father and a white father. Both their sons are in a relationship with each other, and their sons have been murdered, and both of the fathers weren't accepting of the fact that their sons were gay. And I'm not sure if the white father is also racist, I'm not sure, but basically the black father and the white father have to come together and form like a partnership to try and avenge the killings of their sons, and I guess it deals with sort of the relationship issues between the fathers and the sons as well as the fathers. So I thought that sounded really fascinating, and I reserved it for that reason. The next one is part of the first one in the series, and I saw this recommended by Louise Savage. She'd read it and recommended it, and it sounded really good, so I ordered it in from the library as well. And this is called The Way of the Flesh by Ambrose Parry. So I think she said that Ambrose Parry is a husband and wife writing duo. Excuse me. And this is set in Edinburgh in 1847, and there's a doctor called Dr. Simpson. There is his housemaid Sarah Fisher, and then there is a medical student called Will Raven. So Sarah is very intelligent, but because she's a housemaid she doesn't have any privilege afforded to her, so she can't sort of progress. Will is Will's a medical student, as I said, and bodies start appearing, and I think Will and Sarah go on to the darkest shadows of Edinburgh's underworld, trying to find out who's responsible for the gruesome deaths. So I thought that a medical thriller sounded really good. So that's that one. I believe one of the couple, if not both of the couple, might be doctors who wrote it as well, which is cool. This was just an impulse borrow from the library because I just saw it and I've wanted to read it for ages. So this is a tiny little book, which is We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie. I believe this is the written version of a TED talk that she did by the same title, a TEDx talk. And this is, very tiny. It would be really easy to read in one sitting, but I've wanted to read this for a long time. The next one I ordered in again because I saw it in Waterstones, and I just felt like it was a really interesting sounding book, so I ordered it from the library, and this one is called Stop Reading the News by Rolf Dobelli, a manifesto for a happier, calmer and wiser life. So this book, it says news is to the mind what sugar is to the body. In 2013, Rolf Dobelli stood in front of a room full of journalists and proclaimed that he did not read the news. It caused a riot. Now he sets down his philosophy in detail and he practices what he preaches. He hasn't read the news for a decade. Stop Reading the News is a manifesto about the dangers of the most toxic form of information, news. He shows the damage it does to our concentration and well-being and how a misplaced sense of duty can misdirect our behaviour. So I thought that this sounded really interesting because when it was the height of the pandemic, especially like the first wave, I had to stop watching the news because of my job, I was like constantly having to talk about COVID all day. We were having to make lots of policy and procedural changes. We were having to change the way we worked. We were constantly getting messages through from about different guidelines for people with different illnesses and how to manage them. And it was just like complete bombardment. And then I couldn't handle coming home or like constantly being bombarded by news about it as well. So I decided that I was just going to stop watching it. And I checked a news app about once every few days, but that was it. And I haven't gone back to the news. I actively turn the news off, but I do kind of hear the news, obviously, like on the radio and stuff like that. So I'm aware of current affairs. So I'm really interested in this because I think anything that I think his theory is basically to do your own research into things rather than just pretend that nothing's happening in the world, but to do it from your own point of view or your own sort of motivation rather than just being told what mass media wants you to know. So that sounds really intriguing. I then ordered in Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. This big old boy here, which is one of the Women's Prize longlist books, which is why I ordered it in. And I've heard nothing but amazing reviews of this. It's just at the moment, I didn't go straight into it because it's so big. And I just read some really big books, and so I wanted to have like a respite. So this is, I believe it's about 2 different time periods. So a woman called Marion Graves, who has always wanted freedom and danger, and she embarks on her dream to fly around the globe in the 1950s, but crash lands in the Antarctic. And then half a century later, Hadley Baxter, a brilliant, troubled Hollywood starlet, is irresistibly drawn to play her, a role that will lead her to probe the deepest mysteries of the vanished pilot's life. So I know it's going to be good because everybody says it's amazing. It's just starting it because it's so big. And then the final 2 library books that I ordered in. This book is one that I saw on Oprah's book club, and I heard her talk to the author on Super Soul Sessions, and I wanted to read it ever since. This is The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton, and this is a non-fiction. This is a memoir. So Anthony Hinton, when he was 29, was charged with robbery and murder and sentenced to death by electrocution, and he didn't do it. He was innocent, and he spent a really, really long time on death row before he was proven to be innocent and released. And it was about his forgiveness and his experience, and just like he sounded like such an amazing man when I listened to him talking on Super Soul, like such a incredible guy. And this is not only about the injustices of the American legal system, but also about his own personal journey. So it's subtitled How I Found Life and Freedom on Death Row, and I'm really looking forward to reading that because I enjoyed listening to him so much. And then the final book that I ordered from the library is this one, which is Open Water by Caleb Azuman Nelson. This one is about 2 young black British people who have both won scholarships to private schools, and they meet in a pub in London, and one of them is a photographer and one's a dancer, I believe. Yes, so he's a photographer, she's a dancer, and they sort of slowly fall in love, but it says that fear and violence could tear them apart. and it explores like what it's like being black in Britain as well. So that is all of the books that I have hauled. And how are we doing for time? So I think what I'm going to do is today I'm just going to talk about the books that I'm currently reading, and I'm going to save my wrap up for another video because otherwise it's going to be too long. So I'll just tell you about what I'm reading now. So I'm currently reading 4 books. One of them I have the physical copy because I ordered it from the library, but then I ended up getting it on Audible because I forgot that I ordered it from the library. So this one I'm currently listening to, and this is the final revival of Opal and Nev by Dawnie Walton. This is one of the Women's Prize longlist books, and this is told in the form of interviews. So you can see like that, and it is done by a full cast narration on Audible. So this is a story basically about Opal and Nev, who are a musical duo. So Nev is a white British man, and he's kind of like singer-songwriter, and Opal Jewel is a black woman in America, and they come together as a musical duo. And Opal is like stunning. She's very her fashion choices are amazing. She's very like someone who everyone's drawn to, and she's a real performer. And Nev is kind of like more sort of quieter, and he does the sort of the songwriting and things. And one night when they're doing a showcase for their record label, the record label has signed another group of people, and they are basically like Confederate flag waving rednecks, and Opal does something in response to their racism, and this causes a riot, and I won't tell you what happens, but basically that the riot is kind of the central piece of the book, and then we kind of see what happens after that. And what I would say is Opal is an amazing character, and I love hearing her voice, and I love all the parts that are told from Opal's point of view, and also the journalist who's interviewing everybody. But the rest of their characters I'm not that engaged with, and I wish this was just a book that was written from Opal's point of view, because I think that would make it so much more intriguing. I'm finding it pretty slow. I've got about 2 hours left, and it's about a 12-hour audiobook, so I'm nearly finished, but I'm just finding it quite slow at the moment. I'm reading my first buddy read with Faye, my 8-year-old. So we are buddy reading El Deafo by Cece Bell, and this is a graphic novel which was recommended by Jen Campbell, and this is about our main character Cece, who is deaf. So she becomes deaf after she gets meningitis when she's about, I'm not sure how old she is, like 5 or 6, something like that. And this is set in the 70s, when in order to hear, she has like hearing aids, but they have wires which then lead to a box that she has to hang around her neck. And it's her story of what it's like to become deaf, and how people react at school, and how it is for her just navigating friendships and things. And I could have read this in like a sitting. It's so good, but because I'm buddy reading it with Faye, she reads some and then I catch her up, so we're going through it quite slowly and then discussing it. But I think it's a great book to be doing as a buddy read, and I'm really enjoying it. I'll just show you, like, the illustrations are really lovely, like this, and I really just am finding this a joy, as well as giving us both some insight into what it might be like to be a non-hearing person. And then the final 2 that I'm reading at the moment, so one of them I'm shortly going to finish. This is The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Deesha Philyaw. This was also recommended to me by Jen Campbell. This is a fantastic collection of short stories. I'm really loving this book, and I want to finish it, but I don't want to finish it because I'm enjoying the story so much. I would say that I am not a massive short story reader normally, because I often find it frustrating that we're just getting into a story and then it's over. But I'm not finding this at all. This is kind of like we're imagining like people's characters' lives, and we're zooming in on a part of their life for, some of them are like 5 pages, some of them are 30 pages, but we're zooming in for this little period of time, and while we're zoomed in, we're completely engaged with the characters, and then we zoom out again. And I find that Deesha Philyaw completely puts you in the world. You already know the characters, even though you've just been introduced to them, and she just does these magical stories which don't feel like you're like, well, what happens next, or who are these people, or you just feel like you're already there, you already know them. And she's such a skilled writer, and they're all set around, so black women are the focus of all the stories, and there's some reference to religion or religion is kind of in the background of all the stories, and it's just about different relationships, so between like mother and daughter, or women and girlfriend, or women and boyfriend, and it's just fantastic. I can't recommend the stories highly enough. The one I'm reading at the moment is called How to Make Love to a Physicist, and I think that's my favourite one so far, but they're all fantastic, so I really, really recommend this. And then the last book that I'm currently reading is How to Be a Victorian by Ruth Goodman. So I heard about this book from Ruby Granger because it was one of her favourite books of last year. And I ordered this one from the library and this one. The library's just been really great for me. So Ruth Goodman is somebody who does some recreation series, like she's done Victorian Farm, Edwardian Farm. I haven't seen any of those, but I really want to watch them now. So she's a historian who very much knows about the different time periods. And How to Be a Victorian basically focuses on what it's like to be a working class or lower middle class person in Victorian England. And we start with getting up in the morning, and just the things like what it was like in the Victorian bedroom, and how cold it is, and what the night times would have been like, and then it moves on to getting washed and getting dressed, and there's a big section about dress through the Victorian period for men and women, which is what I'm on at the moment, so I am that far through, and it's written in such an engaging way. There's quite a lot of sketches in here as well, so like they've got sort of things like little adverts from the time here, or they'll show you like clothing patterns and stuff like that. And it's because it's written through the course of the day, it also makes it really engaging. So it's like getting dressed, personal grooming, exercise, breakfast, business of the day, the midday meal, school, evening meal, bath before bed, behind the bedroom door. There's all those kind of different sections, and I'm really, really enjoying this. I'm so glad that I've started reading, because history just absolutely fascinates me. And this is told in such a readable but also knowledgeable way. And Ruth Goodman has actually tried quite a lot of these things herself. So she's tried doing like washing in a Victorian way. She's tried wearing corsets. She's tried like different things that they used to make toothpaste with, and just different things like that. She tries them out herself as well, so she's talking from her own personal experience, and she can tell you like what it's like to brush your teeth with ground cuttlefish bones and chalk, which is what they did. So this book is fantastic. Anyone who's interested in history or British history in this time period, I would highly recommend that book. So I think that's enough for today. That's 20 minutes already. So that's the books that I have hauled and the books that I'm currently reading, and I will do another wrap up another time. I should probably have finished The Secret Lives of Church Ladies and Opal and Nev by then as well. So tell me like what you're reading at the moment, or if you've read any of those books, if you're excited about reading any of those books, or just any news that you want to share. Feel free to let me know, and I hope you're all staying well and enjoying the first signs of spring, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.